going to start with our teacher's retirement plan, and that is our mandatory retirement plan. It is the state pension fund for anyone that works in public education in Alabama. So all of you that are with Auburn University, you are automatically a member of the teacher's retirement, assuming that you're working at least 50% time in a permanent capacity. This is a defined benefit plan, meaning that if you work in the system long enough to become vested, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but if you are vested in the plan, then that guarantees you a lifetime monthly benefit at some point in the future. And that benefit that we have, or that's available to us later on, is calculated using a specific formula. And I do have an example in here a little bit later in this segment, kind of breaks down what goes into those calculations as well as what payment choices we have regarding our benefits. Now, while those benefits are guaranteed, unfortunately, cost of living adjustments are not. Those are subject to legislation. So each year you may hear rumblings when the legislature is in session about cost of living adjustments or COLAs for active employees and or for retired members of our system. And they are always separate legislations. It is determined by legislation. It's not something that retirement systems has control over. All right, so as each of you entered the plan, you became a member of TRS under Tier 1 or Tier 2. And the point at which you begin participating in the plan determines your tier status. For those that have been a member of the retirement systems of Alabama, prior to January 1st of 2013, you're going to be under the Tier 1 plan. And Tier 1 members are eligible for retirement with 25 years of service at any age, or at age 60 if you have at least 10 years of service credit. Now, for those that are newer to our system, that just began participation in 2013 or any time thereafter as a brand new member, falls under the Tier 2 plan. And originally, Tier 2 was designed to provide a benefit beginning at age 62 if you had at least 10 years of service credit. A couple of years ago, there was some legislation that changed or added another component to that Tier 2 plan. If you are a Tier 2 member and you have at least 30 years in our system, you would be eligible to draw retirement benefits at any age, but could possibly be subject to a reduction in benefits if you are not age eligible. This will kind of work like Social Security. With Social Security, everyone has a full retirement age. Most of us are going to be right around the 67-year-old mark for our full retirement with Social Security. We do have the option to take Social Security at an earlier age, but at a reduced benefit. This 30-year option for Tier 2 works that same way. You are eligible to draw benefits under Tier 2 after 30 years, but if you are not at least 62 at that point, you would have a reduction in benefits based on being a younger retiree. Now, you'll notice something between the two tiers that they have in common, and that's the 10 years of service credit. 10 years of service credit means that you are vested in the retirement systems of Alabama. Once you have your 10 years of service, you are guaranteed a lifetime monthly benefit, whether under Tier 1 or Tier 2. And then the criteria lay out between those two tiers depending on which one you fall under. But 10 years of service is that vesting point in the state of Alabama retirement. Now, how do we build up that service credit? Simple answer is we get up, we go to work, we get paid by the university, we contribute to our teacher's retirement account through that payroll, and we earn membership service. If you ever have a leave of absence where you are not on payroll with the university, you will not have membership service or retirement credit for that time period. Now, some of you may find that you're eligible to purchase service credit. It's not available to everyone, but those of you that may have the option to purchase service credit, that can add time to your working time in the state of Alabama, whether that is withdrawn service, meaning that it's time that you previously worked with an employer under the RSA system, left that employer and pulled your money out of the system. When that money was pulled out or withdrawn, that canceled the retirement credit that you had built up. Once you come back into the system, as many people do, you would have the opportunity to purchase that withdrawn service, assuming that you had been back at an active employer for at least 2 years when you make that purchase. Now, the key on withdrawn service, if any of you have that, the sooner you can buy it, the cheaper the cost is going to be for you. So if you know you have some previous time with an employer that was under RSA and you want to look at buying that back, contact our office as soon as possible, because that cost is only going to go up over time. And another point I want to mention with the withdrawn service is it is an all or nothing purchase. You cannot piece out just the amount that you need to um, make a certain point in retirement credit. You would have to purchase all of your withdrawn service in its entirety in a lump sum payment in order to regain that time back. Second type I'm going to mention is our military service, and that comes in a couple of different forms. One is prior military service before you became a member of RSA. And that prior military service, assuming that you are not receiving or eligible to receive retirement benefits from the military, can be purchased during the first year of RSA membership or after you reach that vesting point, and you are eligible to purchase up to 4 years of of active duty military service. And in order to get the ball rolling on that, you just send TRS a copy of your DD 214, letting them know your dates of active duty and that you had an honorable discharge when you left that active duty assignment. The other form of military service happens for those that are in the National Guard, and during the course of your employment with the university, you get called up to active duty. While you are serving that assignment, you are not getting paid by the university, therefore you're not earning retirement credit. But upon returning from that military assignment, you can purchase that missed time, and it is a short window of opportunity to make that purchase. So if you fall in that category, contact TRS as soon as you return to employment with the university, and we can get that process going to calculate what that cost would be for you. Now, the third one I'm going to hit on, we see a lot in the TRS system, especially in our university employees, and that is our out-of-state public service. If prior to coming to Auburn University, you worked for another public education institution anywhere in the United States, and you participated in that state's public retirement plan, and you are not eligible to retire under that state's public retirement plan, you could look at purchasing that time to bring those months or years that you had to add to your Alabama retirement account. Couple of keys on this one. Number one is you have to be vested in Alabama first. So you would need to have that 10 years in the RSA established before you're able to make that out-of-state purchase. The other part is you have to forfeit any benefits from that other state. You cannot be retired or eligible to retire from that other state's public retirement plan. Then, if you're eligible and you decide that you want to purchase that time, you would be able to purchase up to 10 years of eligible out of state service. And this one you can purchase partial time. Let's say you've got 5 years that you're eligible to purchase, but you only want to purchase 1 year of out of state service. We will let you buy that in yearly increments. So you can purchase just the 1 year or just 2 years or 3 years. Or you could purchase everything that you're eligible for up to 10 years of that public out of state service. There's several more that are offered to TRS members. Encourage you to visit our website, download the handbook, and it'll go into great detail on all of those. But I did want to bring up these three that I've talked about today because they're the ones that we see more than anything else. So with that, I'm going to move on to another way that we build up our membership, our retirement credit. And this happens at retirement. And this is converting our sick days into additional retirement credit. Now, when Tier 2 was originally created, they did not include sick leave conversion for Tier 2 members. Since that time, though, there was a change in legislation, so now sick leave conversion is open to all TRS members, regardless of your tier status. So what that means is save up those sick days. Your sick leave can be used to make you eligible for retirement, either 25 years under Tier 1 or the 30-year option under Tier 2. Your sick leave can be added as additional service credit to make you eligible. Or if you've already met that minimum requirement under service credit, sick leave's just added above and beyond what you've already established. The only thing sick leave cannot do is make you older. So we're not adding sick leave to our age, just to our years of service. So we have to have the age, if that's what we're looking at, in order to retire, unless you're under Tier 1 looking at a 25-year retirement or Tier 2 looking at a 30-year retirement option. Also, another question that comes up when we talk about sick leave is how much sick leave can I convert? You are allowed 1 sick day per month of employment. And what that means is the longer you work in our system, the more sick leave you could potentially accrue. So someone that has only worked in our system 10 years at that 1 sick day per month only has a maximum of 120 days that they can convert towards retirement credit versus someone that has worked in our system for 25 years at the 1 day per month could potentially accrue and convert up to 300 sick days. So, longer you work, the more sick leave you have available to you. But it is going to be capped at that 1 sick day per month of employment. And this is a snippet from the TRS handbook that is our sick leave conversion chart. And that left-hand column shows number of sick days. Right-hand column shows the number of months of credit that will give you towards your retirement credit. And I know that chart stops at 397. We do have some long-standing employees that even go beyond that 397 sick day allotment. It does keep going up. It's just for space purposes. That's all I could put on this particular PowerPoint slide. But that 1 sick day per month of employment just keeps growing your total allotment as you move throughout your career. Now, what happens if we need to retire early, due to health reasons? RSA does offer a disability retirement to those that find themselves in that situation. Couple of things that I'll point out with our disability retirement though. Number one is it is completely different than Social Security disability. It is not the same process. They have their own application and review process with Social Security. But with the RSA disability, you must be vested in our system. So you have to have at least 10 years of service credit under the RSA system before applying for RSA disability retirement. The other part of that is you want to make sure that you apply while you're still employed. Okay, once you have terminated employment with one of our participating employers, you are not able to come back at a later date and apply for disability retirement through RSA. So make sure you're vested, make sure you submit that initial application prior to terminating or resigning from your position. And once that information comes into us, that application, it is presented to the RSA Medical Board. They meet once a month. And if that medical board determines that you should be retired on disability retirement, then we will calculate your benefits using the exact same formula that we're going to look at in just a second. So we don't have a separate or a different formula for calculating our disability retirements versus what we use for our service retirements. The only exception is going to be someone that retires early due to disability cannot convert sick leave. Usually this is not an issue. In most cases, those retiring under disability have exhausted all of their sick leave, but we just want to make sure that you time it just right if you can. If you find yourself in that situation, you want to use up that sick leave prior to that retirement date so that, you know, you're able to utilize that because it will not be converted under an early retirement due to disability. Okay, what happens if we don't make it to retirement? You know, these years that you've worked under teacher's retirement, you've had a contribution going to that teacher retirement account every paycheck. What happens to that money if you pass away before retirement? Well, rest assured that the money that you have paid in is part of your pre-retirement death benefit that would be payable to whoever your known or your listed beneficiary is on your teacher retirement account. This pre-retirement death benefit package, like I said, includes the money that you've paid in. It also includes all of the money that or all of the interest that has accrued on those contributions that you paid to your account, plus an amount equal to your previous year's salary. And when we look at salary years, we're looking at salary on a scholastic year basis that you're paid from July 1st to June 30th. So total account balance, your monies plus the interest, plus whatever your salary was for the prior scholastic year would be paid as a lump sum to your designated beneficiary under TRS. If you are an active TRS member at the time of death, there's also a payment in the amount of $15,000 that is provided by the state of Alabama. It's a term life insurance payment that's also payable to whoever is your listed beneficiary on your TRS account. Now, this lump sum is payable regardless of where you are in your career. But once you become eligible to retire, things change just a little bit depending on who your beneficiary is. If you are eligible to retire but still working at the time of your death, and you have one person as your beneficiary, that one person can choose the lump sum of your account balance and your previous salary, or that one person could opt for a monthly payment. And if that beneficiary opts for a monthly payment, we would calculate your benefits, show them what their choices would be, and if they choose that monthly payment, if it is a non-spouse that's your beneficiary, it is 50% of your monthly benefit that's paid to that individual the rest of his or her life. If that beneficiary is your spouse, the spouse can take 100% of your benefit as a monthly payment. Okay, so that's something fairly new, just happened about 2 years ago. Gives that spousal beneficiary of a retirement eligible active employee the option of taking a 100% survivor benefit as a lifetime payment in lieu of the lump sum of the account balance and salary. Regardless of which option the beneficiary chooses, whether that individual takes the lump sum payment or if eligible chooses a monthly payment, they would still receive that $15,000, assuming that you were an active employee at the time of death. All right, but I'm going to put that aside. Hopefully everyone here today is going to get to the point of retirement, be able to make all of those plans and all of those choices on our own. So what happens when we get to that point? Applying for retirement. This is a pretty quick turnaround. It is your responsibility, of course, to notify us of your intent to retire. And the way you do that is to submit the initial retirement application. Part one of that application is going to include your intent to retire. You will designate a retirement date. Retirement dates are always on the first of the month, whether it's January 1st, June 1st, August 1st, doesn't matter. Has to be effective on the first of the month. Also included in that is an insurance authorization. I'm going to talk more about that tomorrow, but the insurance for our TRS retirees is under the PHIP health insurance plan. When TRS receives your application for retirement, this will notify PHIP to also send you information about the insurance plan for retirees. So that'll be taken care of through that application process. The third component of the part one of the application is a direct deposit authorization. We pay all of our retirements through direct deposit. They are paid on the last business day of each month, starting in the month that you retire. So for instance, if I retired July 1st, I'm going to have a direct deposit of my retirement benefit on July 31st. If I retire February 1st, I'm going to have a deposit in my account for retirement on February 28th or 29th next year. It's going to be a leap year. So just keep in mind, you retire on the first of the month, you start getting paid your retirement benefit at the end of that month through direct deposit. Part one, like I said, is due 30 to 90 days prior to that retirement date. Once part one is received by TRS, it will go through our process of calculating your benefits. We will then send you a printout through the mail showing what your different payment choices are in retirement. And I'm going to go over those in just a second. But want to make sure that you understand each of those options. You will return that packet back to TRS prior to your effective date of retirement. So pretty quick turnaround, 30 to 90 days for part one, part two with your option selection, and also your income tax withholding status. That's due back to us before that retirement date. And on the income tax withholding, Our benefits are subject to federal income tax only. We do not withhold state income tax. If you reside in the state of Alabama, retirements are not subject to Alabama income tax. If you move to another state, you're going to be under that state's tax law regarding retirement incomes. But state of Alabama will not tax our retirements here, but you will have federal taxes withheld from that benefit amount. All right, calculating our retirement benefit. Mentioned in the very beginning that we use a specific formula to calculate those benefits. This is our formula. Average final salary multiplied by our years and months of total service credit, then multiplied by the benefit factor. Divided by 12 will give us our maximum monthly benefit. You'll see on the screen the differences between Tier 1 and Tier 2 when it comes to what we plug into this formula. Now, on the average final salary, we are looking at salary paid on a scholastic year basis, July 1st to June 30th of any given year. And then there is a difference in the in the benefit factors for Tier 1 and Tier 2. Now, at retirement, you can choose to receive the maximum monthly benefit, but you do have other choices regarding your benefit payments. You actually have 4 different payment plans that you can choose from. Each one of these, whether it's the maximum or one of the optional choices, will provide you, the retiree, that lifetime benefit. Depending on which choice you make, that will determine how much, if anything, you leave for your beneficiary. All right, we're going to look at an example real quick of a Tier 1 member. The majority of our retirees right now are still Tier 1, so that's what we're going to calculate these benefits on. And we have a member that's 63 with a beneficiary that is 59, and they are retiring with 28 years and 7 months of retirement credit, average final salary of $48,000. So we're going to plug that 28 years and 7 months and the $48,000 into our maximum benefit calculation or formula that we just looked at. And that gives us a maximum benefit of about $2,300 per month. If this person chooses the maximum, they're going to receive that payment every month as long as they live. When that retiree passes away, there are no additional payments to pass on to another person. All those benefits would stop. Now, since we are not paid until the end of the month, very likely that someone with a maximum benefit will pass away somewhere during the month before they collect that final retirement benefit payment. If that's the case, then the beneficiary that's listed on the account will receive a prorated payment based on the number of days that retiree lived in their last month. For instance, if I'm the retiree and I've chosen the maximum benefit and I pass away on, say, the 10th of the month, well, I did not collect my final retirement monthly payment, but my beneficiary, because I lived 10 days that last month, my beneficiary would collect 10 days of whatever my monthly benefit was. When that's made, there are no additional payments to a beneficiary under that maximum benefit plan. Now, if I choose option 1 as my retirement benefit payment, I'm going to get about $22.85 per month, every month as long as I live. When I pass away, if there is still money left in my retirement account, left in my TRS account, then the balance on that account would be paid to whoever is my beneficiary. And we start out for this particular person with an account balance of just over about $65,000. Each month that I've drawn my retirement check of $22.85, that 65,000 is reduced by 485.28. So it would take me in this scenario 11 years and 2 months to completely exhaust my account balance at that rate. Once my account balance is gone, as the retiree, I will still get 2,285.85 every month, but there would not be any money left in my account to pay my beneficiary at the time of my death. Now, if I lived less than 11 years and 2 months, there would be some money out of that 65,000 to pay to my beneficiary. In that case, the beneficiary would get one lump sum of that remaining balance. Now, if we're retiring and we choose the maximum or option 1, we are allowed as many beneficiaries as we would like, keeping in mind that those lump sum payments or those one-time payments would be split equally among all beneficiaries. We also would have the ability to change our beneficiary at any time under those two plans. Okay. Little bit different when we get to our survivor benefits. Option 2 is a 100% survivor benefit. This will be, of your four choices, this will be your lowest amount, simply because we're paying you that retirement amount for life. And then after your death, you've designated another person to begin receiving that same payment for the rest of his or her life. That is that 100% survivor benefit. It allows you to take a reduced amount, pass on those benefits to another person after you pass away. Option 3 is a little bit different. It's a 50% survivor benefit. So you'll see the retiree amount's a little bit higher. Retiree draws that for life. After the retiree passes, the beneficiary will draw half of that benefit for the rest of his or her life. Option 2 and 3, we are only allowed one person as our beneficiary. We also can only change our beneficiary under those two plans due to death or divorce. So if you've taken option 2 or 3 and your beneficiary passes before you, you can name a replacement. If it's your spouse and you divorce your spouse, you can name a replacement beneficiary. It's the only two ways a beneficiary can change under option 2 or 3. Now, another thing to consider at retirement, something that was added to the plan in 2019 called PLOP, stands for Partial Lump Sum Option Plan, and it allows a person retiring with a service retirement to take a lump sum equivalent of up to 24 months of your maximum benefit. In exchange for that lump sum, you would have a permanent reduction on whatever your monthly benefit amount is. So keep that in mind. You can look at that option as you approach retirement, have some of the TRS staff run numbers for you, but just keep in mind that whatever reduction on the monthly benefit that occurs is a permanent reduction based on that lump sum payment. Now, what happens if we change our mind? It does happen. We do require that 30 to 90-day filing on your initial retirement application. A lot can happen during that time frame. So if you apply for retirement and you change your mind, all you have to do is notify RSA prior to your effective date of retirement in writing. You get that notice to us in writing either through snail mail or fax, or if you have the ability to scan something with your signature on it, canceling that retirement, we will accept it as long as we receive it prior to your effective date of retirement. If you cancel retirement, it wipes all of that off your retirement account. And then when you decide to retire again or for real, you go through the entire application process again. But again, if you change your mind, make sure that that cancellation request is received by RSA prior to your effective date of retirement, and make sure that you include your signature on that cancellation, and that will be no problem to handle that. Now, what if you get into retirement, decide you want to go to work, either with one of our participating employers or outside of the RSA family? Different rules apply to different situations. If you are retired as a TRS retiree, you can work part-time under a TRS or ERS employer as long as you do not exceed the earnings cap for the calendar year. And it does typically increase a little bit each year. So for the current year, for 2023, the earnings cap for our retirees is $37,000. And that is the earnings cap, but you also have to make sure that you're only working in a part-time position. 2024, January of 2024, that earnings limit's going to $38,000, still in a part-time position with an ERS or TRS employer. If the employer is not part of the RSA system, you have no limits. You can work as much as you want. They can pay you as much as they'll pay you. No worries. But if that employer falls under the retirement systems of Alabama, this is where your limitations come in. And this is our contact information. I put the phone number and website address in the chat box, but if you want to contact TRS directly, you can email them at trsinfo@rsa-al.gov. Also, our member online services portal. Um, that is your portal to your retirement information. You can create an online account and view all of your retirement information. You can calculate what your retirement benefits will be. There is a retirement calculator on there. Um, and you can also schedule an appointment with us through that member online portal, and also register for any upcoming retirement seminars that you may be interested in. Gonna move on. Got a few minutes left. Gonna move on to our RSA-1 plan. And this is a 457B plan. It is a retirement savings plan for those that work in public service in the state of Alabama that is provided by RSA, by the Retirement Systems of Alabama. It is a tax-deferred plan, so it allows you to set a portion of your salary to be saved for retirement on a tax-deferred basis. As the participant, you decide what that amount's going to be. It does come out each pay period, and that money is initially lowering your taxable income. It is being invested while it is in the RSA-1 plan, and then hopefully over time with some good investments, it's going to give you that extra nest egg that you want to have for retirement. Now, it is an investment plan. Try to keep it simple though. We have 3 different investment funds that we offer through RSA-1. And each one of these funds carries its own level of risk versus reward. We're going to cover the high, medium, and the low. First one that you'll see on the screen is our fixed income fund. And this fund used to be referred to as the bond fund or the bond account, and that's what it is. It is heavily invested in government and corporate bonds. It is a medium risk option. This is the fund that actually started RSA-1 back in the mid-80s. This is the medium risk option. Historically, returns are going to be in the low to mid single digit range in this fixed income fund. Some years a little better, some years not so good. Second option we have is our equity fund. This has also been referred to in the past as the stock fund because that's what it is. It is an S&P 500 index fund. So the returns on this equity fund will follow closely to what returns on the S&P 500 are at. Um, Historically, it's done very well. 2 years ago, 2021, we had a return in that equity fund of just over 30%. Last year was a rough year for any investments, whether it was the equity or the fixed income. Both of those last year had pretty significant losses. But going back past last year, looking over the last 10-year history or so, both of those have performed fairly well, some extremely well. When we look at that stock fund, it's had some really good positive double-digit return years. Now, the third option that we have for investing is what is called our short-term investment fund. And this one was added to the plan in 2015 as a more secure option. We had a lot of requests for something more stable, less risky, especially for those that were already into retirement or closing in on retirement, wanting more of a secure option. And this one was added, like I said, in 2015. It's never had a loss, but its banner year for returns happened in 2019. It reached just over a 2% return that year. Most years, this short-term investment fund hovers around 1%. Sometimes it gets a little closer to that 1%, sometimes a little less than that, but it's never had a negative return. So that's the good news on that short-term investment fund. But with the investments, you can choose all of your money to go to one, or you can spread your investments. You can choose to invest in two of these or all three at the same time. You also have the ability to move your money between the funds every 90 days. So every 90 days, we can shift from one fund to the other and have 100% in one or any combination of two or all three. Now, my favorite feature about RSA-1 is it is free. There are no fees with RSA-1. All of the staff that works in our RSA-1 division, as well as our investment division, are all state employees, all public service employees. And because of that, we're able to offer this plan to those in our system at no cost. So it does give you that extra avenue to save more money for retirement. And when it comes to the amounts that we can put in RSA-1, there are no minimums, which is another good thing, especially if you're just starting out saving. There's no minimum amount. You know, we say $25 a pay period, but we do have some of our members that start out at maybe $15 or $20 a pay period. No minimum, but keeping in mind that whatever you defer to RSA-1, you are lowering your taxable income by that amount. So if I started at $25 a pay period, my take-home pay is likely only going to change somewhere in the neighborhood of $18 to $20 at a time. So you will see the benefits of those tax savings initially, and then over time as that money grows, of course, that gives you those extra monies in retirement. Now, since it is a tax-deferred plan, you know, Uncle Sam is only going to allow us to defer up to a certain amount. And those amounts, those maximum amounts, are based on our age or how close we are to retirement. And for 2023, you could see the maximums on the screen. If you're under the age of 50, 22,500 is your maximum this year. 50 and older this year, this calendar year, 30,000 is your maximum for the year. And for those that are nearing in on retirement, those lucky individuals that are within 3 years of retirement eligibility, you may qualify to participate in our catch-up plan. And the catch-up plan allows you to do that. it allows you to catch up on some of those missed opportunities to defer the maximum amounts. And you could defer up to 45,000 a year for up to 3 years before retiring if you choose to participate in that catch-up plan. Something to think about, and also thinking that there's a pretty substantial gap from the $20 or $25 a pay period up to those maximum amounts. But maximizing your savings for retirement, but also seeing those tax benefits while you're still working. And eventually, we want to be able to gain access to our monies. All we have to do that is separate employment. You know, teachers' retirement, you have different rules for the times or the ages that you can draw from those teacher retirement benefits. RSA-1 does not have that. All that's required is that you separate employment either by simply resigning your position, retirement, whatever the case may be. There's no age requirement. Now, we do have two exceptions. If you're still working in the system and you experience an unforeseeable emergency, you could possibly qualify for a withdrawal of your RSA-1 funds based on that unforeseeable emergency. And we do have some of our participants that are still working at 70 and a half and take the option of beginning to pull money from RSA-1 at 70 and a half, even while they're still working in our system. Now, keep in mind though, under number 2 and number 3, if you're pulling that money out due to something catastrophic or while still working at 70 and a half or older, you would have to stop money going into that account. So we're not able to put money in and pull it out at the same time. But any of those scenarios would allow you to gain access to your RSA-1 monies. Most of our participants begin those distributions after they have retired. Now, when it comes to taking distributions, completely up to you as the retiree or as the um, previous employee, how you want to take that money. You can take a full or partial lump sum, keeping in mind that it does become taxable income at that point. Those lump sum payments would have a federal withholding standard rate of 20% withheld from those lump sums. Um, be cautious of those large lump sum payments. I have seen some instances where it throws the retiree into a new tax bracket because that money is looked at by the IRS as additional income for that calendar year. Now, many of our participants or retirees choose an equal monthly payment or even an equal annual payment. They want to use their RSA-1 to come along at the same time as their teacher's retirement payment to maybe keep them at the same income that they were used to while they were working. So they're going to use RSA-1 as a supplemental income in retirement. You also can delay distribution. Once you retire, you may have other plans. You may not want to touch that RSA-1 monies right away. The IRS will allow you to wait until age 73 before you're required to take a minimum distribution. Now, once that minimum distribution age starts at 73, you have to take a certain set amount out each tax year following that. But initially, you do have until April 1st after you reach 73 before you're required to take that minimum distribution. But just keep watch on that. We do notify our almost RMD age retirees of that upcoming birthday so that you do not miss that required minimum distribution. And another benefit with RSA-1, we talked a little bit about this earlier, and that's our purchasing service credit through TRS. If you find that you are eligible to purchase any type of service credit, whether it's withdrawn, military, out of state, or any of the other types that are available, if you have an RSA-1 account, you can use your RSA-1 monies to pay for that service purchase. And it is a tax-deferred transfer from your RSA-1 account directly to TRS to make that purchase complete. You would just work with between TRS and RSA-1 to get that taken care of. And lastly, you can enroll in RSA-1 at any time. All of the enrollment forms can be found on our website. I also link them in the very beginning in that chat box. But you can sign up anytime. There's no special enrollment period or open enrollment period. It is a 4-page enrollment process. The enrollment form is pretty self-explanatory. Beneficiary designation. You're naming a beneficiary specifically for RSA-1. It does not have to match what you have on teacher's retirement. And even if it does, we do not share information between the two regarding your beneficiaries. The third one is your investment option election. This is where you tell RSA-1 how you want your money invested once it comes into us, whether the fixed income, the equity, and or the short term. Like I said, 100% into one of them or any combination of the three. Those three forms, your enrollment, beneficiary, and investment, would be returned to RSA. The fourth form that you have is the authorization to defer, and that is where you tell payroll how much you want to come out each paycheck. You would turn that in to them, work through their processes to get that set up, and you can update that amount at any time. We leave that up to the employers how they want to handle that, but you can update that amount whatever their requirements are with you. And this is again contact information. That RSA website as well as the member online services portal is going to be the same for your TRS and your RSA-1. Also, the phone number is going to be the same for both. RSA-1 does have, just like TRS did, their own designated email address, RSA1info@rsa-al.gov.